Two warring species hoping for a ceasefire. So, is there an arbiter for which they can hire? Enter the man, the myth, the legend, Captain Archer. Can he solve their problem before making his departure? I'm Josh.
I'm Justin.
And this is From There to Here.
The Enterprise Podcast.
The only one that you ever need to listen to.
Only one worth
There
knowing.
are no others. There is no one called Warp 5 or what's the other one?
None of consequence.
No. So today's episode is Season 2. It's episode 15. It's called Ceasefire. And according to the IMDb, this is what it's about. Captain Archer is asked to negotiate between the Andorians and Vulcans who are fighting over a small planet. What do you think this is rated on the IMDb? I haven't looked yet.
8.2.
Yeah, I'm going to think this is up in the 8s.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Both wrong. 7.9.
Okay.
Close. A little lower than I would have expected. What do you have?
Well, to state the obvious, guest star Suzie Plakson appeared as Tara, the first female Andorian seen in Star Trek. Plakson made several previous appearances in Star Trek as a Vulcan, obviously, as a Klingon, obviously, and as a Q, obviously. So, also in a 2015 Sci-Fi interview, Scott Bakula and Dominic Keening noted that this episode was a recommended favorite of theirs. And or is it in 2021, the Digital Fix said that this episode was one of the strongest of season 2 and praised the character development of Shran and Saval. That's about it.
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far to say it's one of the best of season 2. It's pretty good. I liked it.
Yeah. I mean, granted, we're not getting through season 2. Getting through.
Sure, whatever. People know what you mean. It was a good episode. I did enjoy it. Basically, it's very light on story. It kind of sets you up to think that it's going to be maybe a lot of people sitting in a conference room talking.
Right.
Never happens.
No.
Basically, it's about a guy taking another guy to see another guy.
Yeah.
That's it.
And the journey they take to get there.
Basically. Yeah. And yeah, the shenanigans that happens on the way there. Very, very light on plot machinations. So in a sense, that was a little disappointing. If to enter into the writer's room right away for a moment, I felt that to skip right to the end, spoilers, Archer does succeed. He's able to bring them to some kind of agreement, even though they don't. It's the beginning of a negotiation. I felt that was kind of a cop out, a little too neat, don't you think?
Well, the negotiation was not done. It was just the door was open, and as they say at the end, the rest of it's going to take place on Andoria. So, they got a long way to go. I mean,
yes,
it's been
a
long road getting from there to here.
Okay, I agree, but in the end, they are
willing to sit down.
They're sitting down, and it's a little tense, but it's jovial, and Shran lets out a joke. He knows it's a joke, and I'm like, well, in a situation like that, I don't think anybody would be cracking jokes.
At the end? Like when they're on the ship?
Yeah.
I think at that point, it didn't bother me. No. Because Shran...
Well, where did Shran...
Yeah.
What has made him so reasonable all of a sudden?
It's not so much that... Well, okay, he is reasonable. And his reasons are that he's brought Archer in because he's the only neutral party between he and the Vulcans that he trusts, because he knows Archer to be a man of his word. And he brings Saval. Archer, outs his own lieutenant's, what's the word? Buffoonery.
Oh, okay.
where she's trying to turn on him and all that. So he's in a position. We've learned from his past couple episodes that he is a person that respects honesty and being forthright, and someone who's willing to stick their neck out. He's a man that respects that. Archer nearly got himself killed. Getting Saval there, he could have turned around and left or called for help. He didn't do that. He did what he needed to do to maintain the open door of their diplomacy thing that was going to happen. So he recognized that. Saval took a shot and was still willing to sit down and talk. So he is a guy that would do that, you know. I mean, I don't think he let them off scot-free. He was still saying, you know, oh, well, we've just been sitting here talking, you know, at the end. But like they pointed out, he's like, well, you know, that's how this works. You know, what we're not doing is fighting. And Saval has had his mind opened. So he is not being as combative as he probably would have had he stepped foot on that planet without getting shot down and going through all the shenanigans that they did. So both of those men have had their perspectives jarred a little bit.
Well, I can see that, but
and
I don't
I
feel
think
like
it's appropriate.
Okay, well, I didn't feel like it was earned, and that's where
I did.
Well, again, I'm going to use the word neat, because at the end when there's that confrontation between Shran and Susie Plaxon, you know, like, oh, is what he's saying true? Did that actually happen? And she immediately cops to her subterfuge, and I was like, well, okay.
But it's
a
more than
45-minute
that,
episode.
though.
They got to wrap it up here.
It's more than that. Archer goes on to say there's Andorian signatures of weapons fire on our ship. The weapon that hits Saval, Andorian. So he knows.
Of course, he doesn't really know that.
He doesn't know that, but he knows if Archer's saying it, he believes him. Because Archer has not lied to him, and there's no reason for Archer to lie. So
that's true. He does have a proven track record with
right.
him.
So he
knows he can trust him.
And he wasn't saying he believed it. He believes that Archer believes it. That's what allows him, though, to turn to Susie Plaxon and say, is there anything to this? You know? And I think she was just like, I'm done. Fine.
Yeah.
Whatever. Because it was going to come out, and she knew it.
And, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but her character stays in the series.
She did. I think she comes back. I feel like she does.
I think my memory is telling me she's in season 4, or is it a woman that looks like her?
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I mean, she got busted, so maybe it doesn't make sense.
I know in season 4 he has a female companion that he's actually intimate with, or something like that. It's not Susie Plaxon.
No, I don't think so.
It's someone that must look like her, though.
Yeah, dude. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what about the story in terms of what it's commentary on arbitration, you know, between two warring parties? And this is an old story. You know, we got two disparate elements that are fighting over territory. Okay, that's a tale as old as time. Who's going to solve the problem? Well, you got to bring in somebody from the outside, someone who is what's the word?
Neutral.
Right. Thank you. Switzerland. Got to bring Switzerland in to discuss. You know, everyone's got to come to a compromise, which is a line at the end of the episode, which is
we have to agree that we all don't get what we want. Well, then this has been a raging success.
Yes, that was one of the best lines in the episode. Yeah. So in that respect, how do you think it fared? Do you think it did its job? The episode entirely. Do you think it did its job in that respect?
Yeah.
Yeah. You think so? You think it was, again, maybe just a little too neat and thin? It's
neat in the sense that
because we're talking about two species that have
a very
hundreds of years of history of bitterness between them. Archer steps in. They even make a comment about it. It's like, oh, it took them so many years to be able to figure out the agreement they have now.
Had Archer just landed on that planet with no opposition and delivered Saval to the meeting, I don't think it would have worked. I think they would have fought each other, and it would have been a pain in the butt, and it wouldn't have worked out. But Kalar created the situation that basically
took me a second. I forgot she was Kalar. Okay.
That allowed them to earn some mutual respect from each other. Ironically, had she not done that, they probably would have fought. It would have been exactly what she wanted to happen. But because she caused it.
Right.
So that's the neatness of it.
Well, she is part of this disparate faction, or maybe a majority. I don't know. We don't know if it's a minority or majority or what.
Getting along. She wants to fight.
She wants to keep fighting the Vulcans. She wants the territory for themselves.
She thinks Shran will cave and give the Vulcans what they want.
So how large is this contingent of people? It's not even discussed. We don't know.
No, not really.
Majority or minority. That's important. Right. Like, is Shran in the minority?
All she says is that there's more of us. So I get the feeling that Shran is in the majority, but regardless, he's in command. I mean, that's it. You know, she's not. So, you know.
One thing I do want to mention before I forget, those Andorian antennae.
Yeah.
They're not very good at detecting people sneaking up behind them, because
we don't
Archer
know what
does
those
it
antennae
twice.
do.
Well, they're antennae. They're sensory organs, right? I mean, come on.
Right?
You think they would like turn around when it's detecting movement or something?
You think it would go? Roop, roop?
Yeah, they would know. Archer sneaks up on 2 Andorians. One of them is Susie Plaxon.
That's a good point.
They're just for show. And how do those things work? Like special effects, like
Well,
they're moving. So
yeah, but if
in
you
the old
notice,
series, they didn't
their
do that.
forehead is just a bit bigger than it otherwise would be, and you
is
can
it?
tell they probably have some micro gears in there.
So
that
they don't
can
have.
move it.
You don't think they have someone off stage with a remote control? Like,
Oh, absolutely.
You think they do?
Oh, I'm sure it's wirelessly controlled, and just someone flicking some switches.
That sounds. It's so expensive of a special effect to pull off.
I don't think it's as expensive as you think.
No,
It's just a radio controlled gadget that just goes.
Well, I mean, would it bother you if, like in the original series, they didn't move at all?
It wouldn't bother me, but
It is neat that they do.
I like seeing it though. It's kind of neat.
Okay, it's just I don't know if it was just extraneous. Oh, let's make a move this time, and
I'll bet if we go back and watch every episode where Andorians are in, they probably worked out some sort of thing to where their antennae move based on emotion, like a cat wagging its tail, you know?
Oh, yeah,
like there's
maybe.
probably some unconscious movement, to it.
Well, I was watching today for that, and it seems like they do react to specific emotion.
Right.
I think so. Yeah. I went blank.
So okay,
anything you wanted to ask me?
You have 2 plots going on. You have the A plot with Archer getting Saval to the meeting site and all that happens there. Then you have the B plot with Trip up on the ship trying to, hopefully have the Vulcans and Andorians not fight in space as well. So what do you think about the Trip stuff? I feel like I know what you think of the diplomacy, A plot. So what do you think of the B plot?
So in terms of A and B, well, it wasn't really A and B. I mean, they were both kind of the same.
Well, yeah. Well, still, it's a secondary plot thread.
Well, I did have some thoughts on that. Trip he has grown up a bit. He's not petulant at all.
No, I was waiting to give him the award, but he kept it dialed in.
He kept it cool. Yeah.
Even when he had, you think, oh, he's going to go. This is it. Nope. Didn't do it. Bit his tongue. He grew.
He did. So in terms of growth, at least for Trip, it's there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this has been happening over
Slowly.
a series of episodes.
It's been nice to actually see that.
Yes, it has. But I do miss
Petulant
you giving the petulant Trip award. I do miss that. So yeah, it has furthered his arc, and this episode is something I think the IMDb shows this with the rating. That's 7.9, so it's almost an 8. This is higher up. This is kind of what people want to see.
Yeah,
and I agree. I think sometimes it is good to give people what they want. I don't always think that's the case, but in this case, yes, because it's a prequel show. We do want to see how the relationship between Andorians and Vulcans and humans came together. This is another step in that process.
Yeah.
And they did a good job with it. I mean, we said this before. Every time that Shran, what's the
Jeffrey
actor?
Combs.
Jeffrey Combs is on. He's just so fun to watch.
He steals everything. He's just that good.
He's just that good of an actor. He's so interesting to look at and watch, and the way his speech patterns, his facial expressions, it's just
he has such a gift, both with Wei-Yun and with Shran and any of the other guys he's played. He is a fully rounded character the moment you see him.
Yeah.
He knows that character, and he knows what he's going to do, what he won't do, and everything feels real. You know, he's not finding the character.
It's not, and I think it's a lot that he's bringing. It's not just written on the page.
Yeah.
He's bringing a lot to it.
Oh, I agree completely.
And I don't know if I can credit the writing so much, but every conversation he has with Archer, you immediately understand what the dynamic is between these two guys.
Yeah.
Even if what they're saying has nothing to do with their relationship with each other.
I think that I do think some of it there is on the page, but I don't want to take away from the credit that both of those actors deserve. I think he Scott Bakula and Jeffrey Combs, I think these are two guys that are just journeyman actors. They're not movie stars. They're they're just really good actors that can bury into a character.
I think Scott Bakula really wanted to be one, though.
He tried, and I wanted him to be that. It just didn't happen. But to see like the way he can jump from character to character in Quantum Leap and all the other things he's done, these guys just magical chemistry together. You know, I'd like to believe in real life they really got along, because on screen it's like it's just there, like you believe it. You know, they both know how to play the looks, and it just it's wonderful.
What do you think of having Shran on, or not just Shran, but Jeffrey Combs on as a regular? Because
I know there's been, you know, a lot of people wish he had been.
Well, he mentioned, I told you this. He mentioned this on the Shuttlepod podcast.
Right.
That he wanted to be a regular, and they didn't offer it to him, and he was upset that he felt that, haven't I paid my dues by now? Like, can I get a regular part in this series, please? And I understand that. I'm surprised he was so open about it, but
it's a pickle, though, you know, because
it's too much of a good thing.
It might be like I would argue that Andrew Robinson really was a regular on Deep Space Nine.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in the later seasons.
Sure.
But he never got that. He was always deemed a guest star, which I think is doing him a disservice. However, that gave them the freedom to not feel like they had to have this actor in this episode because they're on the show. You know, they could just say, well, this plot has nothing to do with him, so they won't have him in it this one. And
well, Deep Space Nine really did in the latter seasons, you know, have that freedom, even though they did have their principal actors on call. You know, they did kind of rotate around a lot.
They did. But, you know, I mean, Jeffrey Combs as Wei Yun was all over that show. Like, he was practically a regular. But, you know, maybe there's some magic to the sauce of maybe not having him in every episode, because then you lose some of the, oh, yay, look who it is again, you know? And I don't know, maybe, I don't know. Not that I would complain seeing him in every episode. I would love to have Jeffrey Combs should have his own Star Trek show. They should just make a new show where he's the captain now. And he's a human captain this time.
Make him the captain of a ship?
Yes.
Okay.
Give Jeffrey Combs what he deserves. That guy can do anything. And have him do it. Have him play a Vulcan this time. Have him play a Vulcan captain. He would kick ass.
Sure.
He would be so good.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Well, that's just too cool. They would never do it.
Of course not.
They're too busy making garbage.
But he could do that so well.
Yeah.
It would be amazing.
That would be nice to see.
To have a Vulcan captain slowly get softened, just like T'Pol slowly softens, you know, but never completely. He's not going to give in. It's none of this half-human bullshit. He's a Vulcan, but, you know.
Well, speaking
he
of...
could probably play it like Leonard Nimoy did.
You think so?
Yeah. He wouldn't look constipated.
I wouldn't disagree with you there. I think he's definitely shown his range there.
Absolutely.
He can do a lot. I mean, if you look at him in this and then you watch him in like a movie like The Frighteners, where he's completely bonkers in a way that's completely unique to him.
Yes.
He's just not acting like, oh, I'm crazy. No, he's weird.
He has his own internal weirdness.
Weird only like Jeffrey Combs can do it. Like, you're violating my territorial bubble. You know, it's just...
I need my donut
balloon
to sit down because I have hemorrhoids.
Like, I didn't see that joke coming.
And he does not care.
No.
He's not embarrassed.
No.
It's just a fact, and he's going to sit on his donut.
Well, going back to, you were talking about softening, and it reminded me of, there was a scene kind of like in the third act where they're trying to get Saval. Is it Soval or Saval? Saval. To talk with Shran. It's Archer, T'Pol, and Saval, and they're trying to get to Shran. Archer runs off. He's like, I gotta go check something. Doesn't matter. The plot's asking me to leave you two alone for a moment. So
I think I left the iron on.
I left the iron on. The oven's burnt. I smell my biscuits are burning. Hold on. So they can sit and talk.
I left my notebook in the car. I'll be like 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes
to
easy.
find it. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go find that notebook.
Right. So it's another reference. Nobody's going to know what we're talking about.
Dragnet.
So they have this, Saval and T'Pol have this scene together, and it's a fine scene. Scenes like this usually take me out of the moment because people don't tend to have dialogue like this in the middle of a life or death situation. You know, how How did you feel about that? Did it take you out of the moment?
Honestly, I literally cannot remember the scene you're talking about.
Okay, that helps.
It was clearly vapor to me and meant nothing.
This doesn't help me. Okay, so Archer runs off to go look for his notebook, right? So it's those two together, and
T'Pol and Saval.
And, there's some firefight going on in the back. They're in the ruins of wherever there's been bombing. They can hear some firefight. And he literally, like, turns to Paul and says, by the way, I noticed that I've lost my faith in you, seeing you work for this human, da-da-da-da-da. And she defends Archer. It goes on. But she basically defends herself and her position with Archer, and he's like, oh, I stand corrected. Huh, maybe these humans aren't so bad, and something like that. But, it's a scene that it's dialogue that people never have.
Right.
It's a bridge too far for me, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I mean, I don't mind. I like long bridges, but sometimes it's a little too long, and here it was, and it takes me out of it. If they would have had that scene in a quieter moment, maybe
not in the middle of a firefight,
maybe they had really stopped for a few hours and they were hunkered down somewhere where things had settled. Right. Then they could talk to each other, but not when they're just pausing for a brief moment. Because I know
in the middle of gunshots,
they'd be more concerned with like trying not to get their head blown off.
You're making a mistake. Yeah, that's his line from the pilot episode.
Saval?
Yeah.
What's the line?
You're making a mistake. And then Archer goes, oh, careful there, Saval. That's starting to sound dangerously like an emotion.
Oh, yeah.
Frustration.
Yeah. It's called a Klingot.
A Klingon.
I still say you should have said it's called a Klingoff. That's Klingon.
Yeah. That would have broken the wall.
Would it?
And everyone would look to the camera and go, wah, wah.
Wah, wah. Okay. Yeah. So, all in all, I found this episode to be a good kind of a step in the right direction to where I know it's going.
Right.
To where I know eventually the Federation will be founded. They will come together. I just wish it hadn't been so. I think maybe this episode could have been extended. Maybe it could have been 2 parts. Like I needed a little bit more.
That might have been good.
A little more angst, a little bit more subterfuge happening, a little more distrust. It cleaned up too nicely.
I see what you mean, though. It might have been good for a 2-parter, where like you said, they get hunkered down somewhere, and that's where the end of part 1 would happen, where they're stuck in a trench, and they're like, well, we're going to be here for a while.
Well, how do you feel it for like a character like T'Pol? It wasn't a T'Pol-centric episode, although she was in the center of it.
She was there, but no, she really didn't have anything, which I'm fine with.
What I was getting at was, how do you feel it was compared to last week's episode where you thought she looked constipated all the time?
Nah, she looked fine.
There was a moment where
she gave good face in this one.
She did. There was a moment where they were in the shuttle pod. This is when she and Archer were going down to the planet. It looks like she's almost about to cry. And I don't know. I think that's probably like the lighting they had on her face, the eye light.
Must have been. She
looked very, almost tearful. It was very strange. Clearly you did notice. I guess it was vapor for you in that moment too.
I remember the scene. Saval was on the right-hand side, but I don't remember seeing a look on her face. Maybe she was having an emotional day in real life, and she was
maybe
fighting it back. Still a job, and you're like, yeah. And maybe you're just like, I don't really want to work today. Maybe she had a blazing.
If
headache.
anything, I've heard that she's kind of like a goofball. Like that's what I heard she was like on set. I'm not saying she had to be like that all the time.
Right. Like I remember in the commentary for Joe Dirt.
Yes. Which one, the director or
Spades?
Or Spade, okay.
Where there's the scene where he's sitting on a swing set and it breaks.
Yes.
and he's on the ground and he finds himself looking up at the stars. And he said, I remember this night because I had a fever and I had like a terrible, my head was pounding and I was miserable, and that's his memory. And if you look at his eyes, you feel like, oh, can I see it? Like you kind of read into maybe something, but the point being is that these are just real people. That's just a job they're doing, and who knows what was going on that day, and it showed through.
If you haven't seen Joe Dirt,
Dear Tay,
you need to watch it and listen to the commentary. Both of them. They're both good, surprisingly.
Yeah,
you wouldn't think so.
I find Joe Dirt endlessly entertaining.
Well, this is a show. I wish the DVDs would have had some commentaries on.
That would have been interesting.
I really would have liked. I don't recall if they ever. I'm sure they have some extras where they're talking to the cast when they're on set. But generally those tend to not be very revealing. They're kind of puff pieces.
Right.
That's why something like Shuttle Pod Show is a little bit more interesting because they get a little bit more candid. I wish they would have been a bit more open and maybe put some actors on commentaries here and there.
Yeah.
I mean, this was in the heyday of when DVDs were coming out.
True.
That would have been nice.
Would have been.
Did you have anything else about this episode you wanted to
no,
highlight?
But you did tell me to remind you about a discussion question.
Okay, so you want to go to that?
Sure. I think the only thing I was going to say is that Trip being in command of Enterprise and doing what he did, for some reason, even though this is not the first time he's filled that role, made me think of original Star Trek.
I'm sorry, what about Trip?
How he was in command of the Enterprise because they were down there. Mm-hmm. Not the first time he's done it, but it reminded me of TOS and how there was numerous occasions where Scotty was left in command.
Oh, what about that episode Cat's Paw with that one guy? Wasn't it Cat's Paw?
Yeah, Cat's Paw was a different guy.
Had a different fellow in there, and he did a good job.
It was interesting. Yeah, he was really good. He was very stiff, but when he spoke,
he won the day though, right?
I think he did. But Scotty was a great guy to leave in command because he's smart. He puts up with no shit.
Right.
And he's no diplomat. He doesn't pretend to be. And he usually sees through whatever crap is going on. Someone will thunk Kirk on the head and say, call the ship and tell everyone to beam down unarmed and all that. He goes, sure, I'll do that. Hey, Scotty, can you go ahead and beam down all these guys for vacation? You know what I mean? And he'll go, yeah, sure, Captain. Let me get back to you on that. And then he'll go scan the fucking planet. What's going on?
Knight to Queen level 3.
Yeah, or that. And to where the other captain goes, you have a well-trained bridge crew. He's really, really good. And then there's another one where there was an ambassador. And Kirk was squaring off against, it was Taste of Armageddon. And Kirk is telling the ambassador what's up. He's like, I'm not letting you do this. I'm not letting you do that. And he beams down there, and this ambassador thinks, I'm going to go push over the old engineer guy. And he's like, I don't think so. This is how it's going to be. I'm not budging, and he makes no apologies. I dig his style. And, it's nice to see Trip start to evolve into that.
Do you think that was their intention? The writers, I mean.
I kind of can't help but think it was because they were trying very, very hard to replicate the big three. And although Trip is the big three in this, he's also the engineer, so his role on the ship is going to be different.
Do you think they're trying to make him like a hybrid of Bones and Scotty?
Yes, okay. I do. I very much do.
Okay. Well, going back to the discussion question. So we heard from Sebastian again this week, and he was kind enough to write in and give us one. So he writes in and says, Heyo. I enjoyed last week's episode, and I heard the message. You guys need questions to get the conversation going. Much better than reading out a monologue. Makes total sense. We didn't mind. I liked your question, your response last week. That was great. So just forget about my previous attachments. Here are some neat questions for the next 2 episodes. Well, thank you. So he has one for next week too. So for this one, for Ceasefire, this is what he wrote in for us. In the teaser, Tara says, have you ever known a Vulcan who wouldn't lie to get what he wanted? Tara must have been Shran's lieutenant.
Yeah, that was
Susie Plaxton.
That was Lieutenant Solar. Yes.
Okay, so she says, have you ever known a Vulcan who wouldn't lie to get what he wanted? Well, I thought Vulcans generally cannot lie. Are the Vulcans in that time period so different that they do lie? When Trip is... I guess that's one question. There's more. Okay, so...
Should we address that first?
Yeah, do you think that... is this the case where like they're on a different plane of logic, they're on a different plane of truth too, where they do bend it a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very clear that the Vulcans at this point are far more emotional than they care to admit.
Yes, they are.
And as a result, they don't have any issue lying. When you get to, granted, and it's not like it's all that far away, but when they get to the Vulcans in TOS, they have, and you see it because there's a shift in towards season 4 towards the shift in Vulcan attitude, and they become more the Vulcans that we know, and they both suppress their emotions more, but they also let go of their, wait for it, petulance.
Okay.
And I think also the difference between Enterprise Vulcans and TOS Vulcans is that Enterprise Vulcans at this point in history, they're kind of the big dogs on the street, you know. But by the time of TOS, humans have developed to the point to where they've, I don't want to say they've overtaken the Vulcans technology wise, but it's clear that
they have. They clearly have.
In TOS?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking of TNG. Yeah.
No. But I think the Vulcan technology is probably really good, but they realize that they are not the influencing force that they used to be, and they've just they're
kind of like France after World War II.
I feel like they've let their egos go. And that's maybe the big thing, is that they've let go of that petulance, that ego, and as a result, part of that is they can lie. They choose not to. It's not logical to lie. Spock basically lied very often, but he always had an excuse for it. Yeah. You know, was that a lie? Oh, it was an omission, or it was an error, or whatever. Yeah. He's always had something. He's just as capable of these as these guys are, but he has reached a level of logical being that says, this is not how I live my life. I don't lie. Why would I? You know? So if that makes sense, that's my answer.
No, I don't think I could have put it any better. I agree. I think they are at a different point.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, we don't want to see them be exactly the same as they are in TOS or TNG. That's
what would you say the time difference is between this to TOS?
Is it 100 years before?
Roughly.
I think that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah. That sounds about right. Well, 150 maybe.
Is it that long? I thought it was 100. For some reason, 100 sticks in my mind.
Maybe it is. I just remember in the episode Tomorrow's Yesterday that
yes.
When Kirk is being held by the general guy, he goes, I'm going to lock you up for 200 years. And he goes, that ought to be just about right. So is this... Now, granted, we're talking about Enterprise time, not 1960s. So I don't know, whatever.
I'm not sure where you're...
I'm trying to do the mental math. So from 1960 something to Kirk's time would have been 200 years. So Enterprise, I suppose, is probably somewhere about in the middle.
Would have been longer than that. They're in the 23rd century in Kirk's time. So that would be 22 something.
That's about right, roughly.
So that'd be 300 years.
No, because it's 1960 something. It's almost 2000s, you know, if you're looking at it. And then...
Well, okay. I was thinking of 2260.
I don't know. We don't know the exact year in Kirk's time, to be honest.
I'm sure someone could tell us, though.
Oh, yeah. I don't doubt that.
Yes.
I don't know it. Let me say that.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know it. Okay. So, and he said just about, not exactly.
Okay, fine. Okay, so next question. When Trip is in command, okay. He's suddenly not petulant.
Thank you.
Thank you very thoughtful much. And resolute. I like that. But wasn't it actually out of character? Well, we did just go into this.
We did. He's been evolving.
Yeah.
If Trip midway through season 1 had acted like this, I would agree. But he has been slowly developing. He's been humbled.
Yeah.
He's had experiences that have taught him other ways. And he's been watching. He's been learning. And I feel like
he's been trapped on a planet with an alien species.
With an enemy mind.
He did enemy mind twice. One with a hot lady. One with an alien he didn't understand the language of. He's grown.
Yeah.
He has.
He has.
Absolutely. I really do think he has. And to call it out of character, no. He's in character. This has gone on from season 1 into 2. From episodes like we just mentioned, Dawn. Precious Cargo, which people really like to download, by the way, even though it's a clunker apparently.
Maybe they're just waiting for us to beat on it.
Yeah, they're gonna be sorely disappointed. But yeah. I think I just said the catwalk, but there's been plenty of Trip centric episodes and moments where he has shown that he has grown. So yeah, I wouldn't say, definitely not out of character, but some people might think so. I wonder what Sebastian thinks.
Well, I think we know what he thinks
because he posed it that way. Yeah. So maybe he thinks it is.
Apparently.
Yeah.
And I feel like when Trip walked out onto the center bridge ready to talk, like he's fighting it. You see it and you think he's going to go there, but then he dials it back. He knows. And I feel like you can see that happen. He makes a choice. It's not like the camera holds on him while he does it or anything. I just feel like it was a little beat.
Well, since we're considering this, is it maybe us inferring growth?
No.
That isn't there?
No. I don't think we're inferring it. I think it's very intentionally been peppered throughout it. Just like Hoshi has been growing in her confidence and so on, just like T'Pol has been softening and all. I don't think there's anything accidental about it. I think it's absolutely on purpose.
Well, I think so too. I'm just trying to check all the boxes here to make sure we're not adding something that isn't there.
No, I don't think so at all.
Okay, so bold claim, the Andorians' antennas are the most interesting alien costume feature in Star Trek history. I guess this is according to him. That's why he's calling it a bold claim. Because their movements actually tell us something about what the characters are feeling.
Well, there you go.
Do you agree or disagree? Isn't this strange? We brought this up. This is so weird. We did not read these questions beforehand.
No, we didn't.
No, we had no idea.
I really would, on whatever episode the Andorians are on next, I really do want to pay attention to their...
I think you're right. I think it's like a cat's tail. I think that's the way that
I don't know if they wag, but they may like perk up if they're...
I think it's in a response to certain emotion or stimuli. Yeah, I think they are.
Yeah.
The most interesting, I think I don't know.
But is that the most interesting in Star Trek? I'm going to have to say no. And I'm going to say no and draw a direct reference to an off Star Trek production.
Okay.
XXX Star Trek production,
God.
Where in this they depict that when Vulcans get aroused, their ears get bigger.
Oh my God.
So now that is interesting. But I do like the Andorian antenna. Yes, I do.
What? Was this a TNG porno?
No, it was a TOS one.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, God. Okay. Well, as far as the most interesting, like, how did Sebastian put it? The most interesting alien costume feature in Star Trek history.
That's a big one.
That is a bold claim, so that's why he put that. I don't know if I could agree with him right there because I do like it.
I do like it, but the first thing that comes to mind that I really dug, and I mentioned it, was Ensign Menden's breathing apparatus. Like, why did they do that?
Benzites, right? Is that what it is?
Yes, a benzite thing. Why did they do that?
Or Benzar or something.
No, it's
like
benzite.
That. Okay.
That they did that was just interesting. They made his species look kind of, let's say, aquatic-y. So maybe that was just moisture for his nose and all that. Maybe it was just that simple. But they don't explain it, and it doesn't in any way impede what he does. It was just there. And I dig that.
Yeah, I mean, I did like it too. My mind went to him, to that character. But
is it the most interesting? I don't know, but I liked it.
There's a lot of alien species in Star Trek history, so I'd have to like go through a catalog or something like that to really make that determination. I do think it's up there. I think the antennae do give them a lot. That makes them. It does give them flavor. It makes it gives them personality.
I mean, the Andorians may take it. I'm just saying that stuck out.
Yeah, I'll give it some thought, Sebastian. I can't, like I just said, I can't agree with you right off the bat on that one. But thank you for the discussion questions. I look forward to reading the ones on the next episode, which I just saw as future tense. So
Yeah.
that will be interesting. We did hear from someone on Apple Podcasts. Someone was nice enough. I believe it's his name. The name is Kato, Kaeto. I don't know. I think that's how that's pronounced. I would spell Kato, Kato. But,
No, that's how I would.
was nice enough to leave us Kato, Keanu. Was nice enough to leave us a review and rate us. Basically said some nice things about it. So thank you. And also Kyle on our YouTube page continues to leave comments for us. So thank you. That's, like I said, you can listen to us on that on YouTube if you want. Did you have any trivia for me?
Not exactly. I'll give you this one though. What was the name of the Andorian captain on the ship that Trip talks to?
I don't remember.
Telev.
Okay.
And bonus question. What is the name of the actor that plays Ambassador Soval? I feel like you never remember this.
Because I get him confused with oh gosh, he's Robot Jocks.
Come on, get in that thing and kick my ass.
Yeah, he's Achilles.
Time to die, Achilles.
Oh, what's the first letter?
G.
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 Gary something. Gary Graham.
Yes. Gary Graham. When I hear the name Gary, I always think of Rocket Man. When he's riding the centrifugal thingy, and it breaks off, and he goes like barreling down the hallways and all that, and he crashes into Bo Bridges.
Yeah.
And someone comes up and goes, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" He goes, "Yeah, I just ran into Gary." that was that guy that he hit, and knocked over, and all that. It always makes me think of that.
Well, I did have a few trivia questions for you. One, I wrote down the question. I can't remember what the answer is, so I guess I can't ask it to now. How many years did it take out? How many years did it take to work out the current agreements?
100.
No.
99.
47. I think this had been going on for 100 years, but there was a current agreement that had been going on that had been arbitrated or something like that.
Okay, then.
It was 8 years.
Okay, so my other question, which I swear I can't remember the answer to anymore, it's a human expression that Archer made to...
The ball is in your court.
Okay, there you go. That's the answer. The ball is in your court. Did you have any awards?
I love the look that Gary Graham gives to Paul.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes,
He's like,
what the fuck was that?
Was that Spanish?
He did a very good, like, what?
Yeah.
You know, that was very good.
Any awards?
Wait.
Yeah.
Do you remember how long it had been since Saval had fired a weapon?
50.
Yes. Okay.
And how long had it been since he'd been to the planet?
Oh, a very long time.
100.
Okay.
Okay, so did you have any awards?
No.
No awards?
No.
I don't think I have any either. The scene was just pretty... The show was just pretty good.
Yeah.
Usually because truth be told, these awards are usually done ironically, where it's
yeah.
it's usually if we don't have anything, it's because the episode did a pretty good job. So I don't have anything in terms of awards, except I'd like to highlight there was a few good lines in there. One was, I think it was Saval. It was between Saval and T'Pol, and that scene you can't remember where he I think Saval says to T'Pol, "What is their fascination with our ears?"
Yes, I do remember.
That was a nice quippy little line I liked a lot.
And doesn't she say, "I think they're envious"?
I think that was her response. Yeah, I'd forgotten the response. I didn't put that part down.
I mean, they're not wrong.
I do have an honorable mention. This isn't an award. An honorable mention to Susie Plaxton for doing a double kick Shatner,
does a double hit.
Shatner has double. Oh, she does.
She does a double fist. Like
Okay.
I noticed it. She was knocked off kilter and she was kind of tilted to the side, and she did this double fisted, but they were like a foot apart. Well, bam, like one to the face and one to the gut.
Oh, really?
Like it was this. It
I
was
missed that.
odd. But
she also didn't do a running jump kick like Kirk would do. It was like she was hanging off of something. So it was close.
right, it's the same scene.
Oh yeah, same scene, but honorable mention. Like I said, no award for that.
Yeah, and Shatner's the only one that can do that.
Well, obviously.
That's a Shatner move.
Obviously.
Although I was recently watching The Trial of Billy Jack, and
Oh, were you?
I was, and his wife in that movie, she's actually practicing a Kirk style double kick,
Yeah.
double leg kick. Yeah.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, it kind of took me out of the moment. She's like doing a sparring thing, and she backs up a few feet, gives it a good running jump, and she both feet, blam, to knock this guy.
You know,
out.
I know this is really off topic, Billy Jack, but I was thinking about Billy Jack while watching this. Go figure. But take a moment, can you explain in brief what Billy Jack is for listeners who may not be aware? Because it truly is an odd piece.
Billy Jack is a series of 4 movies based on a character named Billy Jack.
Made in the 70s?
Starting in the late 60s and then going through the 70s, starting with The Born Losers, then Billy Jack, then The Trial of Billy Jack, then Billy Jack Goes to Washington. Billy Jack is a former army officer or soldier who is trying to, through his ways of following the way of the Indian, the Native American, trying to learn pacifism and the whole kumbaya, we must all get along kind of attitude.
I'm sure that's what they call it.
And all of the movies are basically Born Losers is and actually the second one, Billy Jack, are actually better at disguising the message in the plot, because those actually have plots, whereas Trial and Billy Jack Goes to Washington are really just speeches with a light narrative thread between them.
Okay.
They're a lot of fun. Tom Laughlin is the guy that plays Billy Jack. He wrote them with his wife, Dolores something, who's also in the movies. And I highly recommend you watch them. They are, especially the first 2, are infinitely entertaining. And they have a Blu-ray set out, which has commentaries. And it is fascinating.
All of the movies have commentaries?
Yes.
Okay.
And it is fascinating to listen to Tom Laughlin and his wife talk. They were making a whole different movie than what ended up on screen.
Yeah. And
they are very passionate about what they were doing. And I admire them for that, but their lens is very spherical, skewed, and
they're looking through their own little keyhole here.
That
right?
they are.
Yeah.
And they see those movies as being these epic works of art. And they're not bad, but they see them as like these cultural milestones.
Well, they were very much hippies of their time.
They were.
Yeah.
And give them a shot, man. They're good. They're good movies. The first 2 especially.
Yeah, you won't forget them. They'll stick in your mind for their just
Billy Jack
oddity.
The movie Billy Jack, which is the second one, just kind of like Rambo, where it's like First Blood, but then the second one was called Rambo.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a famous exchange where the whites in town have bullied and beaten up the Native American people that are coming into town to get some stuff. They just wanted some ice cream, man. And Billy Jack is having none of this, because they poured flour on her name was Sunshine, because she was she was God's little gift to Sunshine.
Of course.
And he walks into the ice cream shop, and he looks at Bernard and his friends, and he goes, "This girl will carry the humiliation of your stupid act for the rest of her life. What do you think I should do to you to make you remember this for the rest of your life?" And they're like, "Oh shit, gotta call my dad." So they go and they call the dad, and Billy Jack has left. He's walking out, and he's getting very quickly surrounded by a mob of big bad guys. And the leader of the guys, this Posner, comes walking up to Billy Jack, and he goes, "There's a lot of people here, Billy Jack. I don't see how you're." Oh, and Billy Jack can do like ninja kung fu type stuff, and he's such an odd character. he dresses in denim, but yet he worships the way of the Indian man, and he can do ninja kung fu, and he thinks he's a pacifist.
Right.
And so Posner's going, "There's a lot of guys here. I don't see how your fancy kicking's going to get you out of this one." And Billy always does the same thing before he strikes. He looks around, shakes his head like you don't know what's coming, and he goes, "You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take my right foot and I'm going to whop you right here on your cheek. And you know what? What? There's not a thing you can do about it." And he goes, "Is that right?" And then it cuts to this wide shot and he goes, "What?" And then it cuts to slow-mo. So he hits the ground. And then he promptly gets his ass kicked because he was outnumbered. But I digress. Why were you thinking of Billy Jack when watching this? Were you thinking Billy Jack would have delivered some justice to these Andorians?
I think it was because, Billy Jack, I can't remember what movie we were watching. Which
you
one?
were watching Trial
of Billy
me.
Jack?
Yeah.
Well, Billy Jack was coming off as maybe something, not an arbiter, but someone in between worlds.
Yeah, you could kind of say that.
And I was kind of feeling that with in this situation where it's a person caught between worlds, with T'Pol and Archer and all that kind of stuff. Like who's going to be the peaceful one to find in a way to resolve this tension.
Will never be Billy Jack.
Oh, I know, but still, in a way, it was reminding me of it.
Okay.
And it's hard to forget Billy Jack once you see it.
There's no one like him.
No. We did forget to grade the episode. So you can go ahead and go first if you like.
I'll give it a A minus.
A minus?
Maybe a B plus.
That's a tough call.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to give it a B plus.
Okay.
Because while it's a good episode, maybe there's some things they could have done, like you said, to maybe heighten the tension a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Add some more threat to it. Mm-hmm. But not bad by any stretch. But I do think that would have probably brought it into A territory. So yeah. I'm really worried for them.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you. I'd have to go probably B plus as well. Mm-hmm. For all the reasons you just said, and for the ones that I mentioned at the top of the episode. I think there was a lot of other spaces and emotions they could have explored, and they didn't go in there. That's why I said they should have opened this up to maybe two episodes. This should have been a two-parter. Yeah,
I think it might have actually really benefited from that. I would have liked to have seen that.
All right, so next week, as I said, it's future tense. I do remember this episode. I've seen it multiple times.
That's the one where they find like the ship where it's the TARDIS on the inside, right?
Yeah, I believe.
It's bigger on the inside.
I believe, yes.
Where I just remember, I know I'm playing this up in my head more than what it is, but where they open the hatch and they realize it goes down, like it doesn't make any sense, and they drop his spanner down. Yeah. He's like, "Get something else to drop down there." Like for a second, they're like children. They're like, "Oh, I want to hear it."
Do they do that? I know they drop something.
He drops
down
it.
There.
He's like, "How am I going to get that back?" And he's like, "Grab something else. Throw something else down there." I feel like they do that, because whenever you put Trip and Malcolm together, they end up doing things like that.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, gotta go get it."
I'm gonna have to wait a week to find out now. All right. Well, see you in the next one.
All right. Bye.